Have you started generating revenue? You came into money, you have now achieved something that you're trying to figure out what the hell do you do with this money, or how do you protect it, or how do you invest it properly? Today, I'm sitting with a very close friend of mine, but a master in his craft, Edgar Petes. Welcome. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how the hell you're gonna add value into these people's lives.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's awesome to be here. My name is Edgar Petes. I go by Eddie G. I own Axel Maxim, which is a business management agency. We work with a bunch of athletes, celebrities, and influencers. And really, we help them structure their lives from a business standpoint and then help them find their purpose through their money. Now, a lot of people think once you come into money, you got it all figured out. But that's usually when people start trying to figure it out, right? We start at the beginning. I think finding purpose and finding what you stand for, it starts with, organizing your own life, right? So we do budgeting for you, and if you don't have a budget, that's like the first place where people should start. People have no idea what their expenses look like, and the more money you make, the more money you spend. You kind of tend to lose control really, really quickly. So make sure you get budgeted. That's step number one. And then what happens is, if you're working with the right people, you have a personal budget, which are expenses that are on your personal side, and then you have a business budget, right? If you don't have a business, it's a perfect time now you're coming into money to establish your LLC. As far as the structure is concerned, having your person and having your LLC right next to each other is massive. Not just for tax advantages, but making sure that you can actually organize your finances and put the money in the right places. So we get a budget on a personal and business side. We set up your LLC. We'll help you set up your bank account. And then at that point, sky's the limit, because now you can be focused on you as a business. The reason why we call this business management is because we're inviting people to behave as a business would. Right? Stop paying your content creators or your makeup artists or all these people on Zelle. Put them on payroll. Like, they're your employees. They work for you. They work for your brand. If you're content creation, if you're an athlete, like, you have assistants, you have mates, you have chefs. Like, all these people are the ones that are allowing you to be who you are and create your brand. That's got to run as a business should. And this type of structure allows you to do that.
But in that scenario, when you have this structure, right? So if you look at yourself from a personal standpoint, and then you say, okay, this person, right, Michael Farrell, has a business, ABC LLC.
Right.
The benefit of having that business now, from a structure perspective, tax liability, movement of money in, movement of money out, like, where are you collecting the money, right? Like, am I collecting it to my personal? Am I collecting it to the business?
No, it should go to the business.
And then how is that business impacting the ability for you to save kind of at the end of the day? Right? Like, how do you protect that money?
Of course, yeah. So that is one of the quickest switches you got to make, is you got to start getting every single brand that pays you to pay you to your LLC immediately. The second you make that switch, that LLC becomes the owner and it becomes a filter through your personal. So now you have all these different business expenses. As I was mentioning, payroll, your rent, your car, all these different things go through your business. And then at the end of the year, and you even pay yourself as an employee of that business. And then at the end of the year, whatever's left is what goes over into your personal. A lot of people don't see that distinction, but when you're at a personal level, you pay taxes on everything that comes in regardless of expenses. When you're an LLC, you have a filter of expenses before you have to pay taxes. And that in itself is like the biggest advantage. But as a business, you can even set up your retirement account so you can continue to put money away for retirement. You can do not-for-profit donations. And there's a lot of athletes, for example, that love to give back to their communities. You can do it through their own 501c3 or through that same LLC to give contributions. So there's a lot of things that you can do to impact the community that's surrounding you, that you're influencing through that LLC, and it's massive.
And so let's take that one step further now. So I set up my LLC, and now I'm a creator and I have multiple opportunities being presented to me, right? I have a consumer packaged goods company that I'm launching. Maybe I'm launching a cosmetic line, or I'm launching an energy drink with XYZ partners that are approaching me for an opportunity. I have this kind of content promotion gig with another brand where I'm taking in kind of like, how would you structure, or maybe I have a real estate portfolio that I'm trying to build out. Like, how do I structure multiple different avenues of opportunities that are coming my way? Is it all going to be under that one entity, or is there a benefit to splitting it up and having individualized?
No, it definitely has to be split up. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's really three stages to this, right? There is financial fundamentals. That's when, as I was mentioning, you get your budget in, you manage your credit, you get your first home. That's at a personal level. You actually file your taxes on time. Like, those are financial fundamentals. Then you have control. And control is the second stage, where you start to have your financial portfolio, your investments, all these different things, your trust, taking care of your family, if you're married, if you have children, all those things are in the second bucket. But the bucket you're talking about is wealth creation. when you are buying properties and you have a real estate portfolio, that's got to be standing separate, because if someone slips and falls on that property, you're liable for a lawsuit. So you want to keep that property completely separate from the LLC that's generating all the revenue, right? If you are launching a CPG product, that's got to be a separate LLC, because the expenses for that business are completely different from the expenses you're running into for content creation or for anything else. So having separate LLCs makes sense, and then you have a holdings company on top that has the equity ownership in every single one of those things. So you're probably gonna have partners or investors in different opportunities. You hold your equity with that holdings LLC, and then you have all the different entities below that.
Awesome. And so now from like the setup, your setup, right? In your position, where do you see the biggest gap when OnlyFans and the amount of money they're generating right now is more than the NBA?
Yeah.
It's or almost as much. And so like you're seeing these big wealth creations from individuals that honestly like just coming into money for the first time, they don't even know what the hell to do with it. Right. And so like, what's the biggest pain point they're experiencing, right? That you've seen or that you're trying to like help them mitigate?
Taxes. So I have tons of OnlyFans creators, and they get money 1099. They're not aware of what their tax bill is going to be. And then come the end of the tax year, they've spent most of their money, but they owe 20 to 30% of what they've made. So if they made $1 million this year, they owe 300 grand, but they only have 150 grand in their bank account. So it creates a massive issue. And because the whole year went by without this type of structure, and now it's too late, right? Now we can't go backwards, especially with the year end. So right now we're having year-end tax liability meetings with most of our clients, explaining to them what their forecasted, what their expense is going to be, and how to mitigate those things. Maybe they prepay some expenses, like they prepay their rent, prepay their studio rent, or things like that, or contribute towards different retirement accounts. But ultimately, how you behave through the year dictates how much you're gonna spend the next year. And most of them have already spent all their money by the time tax season comes.
So from a tax perspective, and I don't know if you want to go so deep into this, but is there a benefit to setting up from a tax liability like a C Corp or an Inc. versus an LLC versus like an S Corp? Like how would you classify like what someone should, look at?
Yeah, depending on the level you're at, most content creators should be S Corps, right? Now you can create and this is a common misconception here, C Corp, LLC, those are legal ways of structuring your business, but how the IRS taxes you could be different. So you could have an LLC and then tell the IRS to tax you as an S corporation. So from a tax perspective, you're an S corporation, but from a liability legal standpoint, you're an LLC. And that's probably the most ideal scenario for content creators, just to protect their liability, but at the same time, an S Corp allows you to pass through to your personal. So it almost becomes like a filter, right? So you have all your income coming in, you have all the different business expenses being written off, and then at the end, that flows into your personal. And then your personal also has different standard deductions or itemized deductions, and then you end up, deducting even more so you can pay the least amount. So definitely an S Corp is the best way to do it.
And if you were to summarize kind of the first 2 or 3 steps that someone that is coming into money or that has the opportunity, right, that they don't want to be in a position where they owe a shit ton of money in taxes, like what would be the first, few steps that you would say do 1, 2, and 3 that would help them mitigate the risk or issues that they're going to be coming into, as they're coming into this money?
Step 1, don't wait, act now. Take action right this second. Call somebody, call your accountant, your business manager. Like you have to take action right now to get your finances under control, which would be step 2. Get your finances under control, have visibility as to where your money is and what it's doing. And then step 3, take advantage of any investment opportunities you have. But if you start investing early on or you have no visibility of where your money is, tax season comes around, you're gonna get trampled. It's gonna be really bad for you. And if you wait until the year ends, it's gonna be too late, and there's nothing anyone can do to save you money on taxes or to put you in a better financial position.
At that moment, you're just paying the fucking bill or having to finance it out?
January 1st, there's nothing you could do about the previous year.
That moment you are fucked.
You're completely fucked. Do not wait. It's important not to wait. Get your finances in order. And then, there's always this thing about, I'll handle it later, I'll call later. It's a painful thing. Like, people don't want to look at their bank accounts. I have millionaire athletes that are just like, I'd rather not open a bank account because they don't have a good relationship with money. Some other ones put all their money into their personal checking account, so they have no growth in their money because they want to see that they have a lot, but that money's just going down every single month, and they're basically, phone app accounting, right? Where they just, I have money in the bank account.
I could buy that thing.
I could buy it, whatever it is, but there is no strategy and no plan.
Do you see that most people that have actually achieved like some level of financial success just want to be able to operate without worrying about being able to afford something? Or do you feel that there's a level of true understanding of their money, that they care about the money in, money out?
So it's interesting, it's two ways, right? Like most women, especially women content creators, they're looking for stability. So they're gonna be a bit more conservative. They wanna have more visibility and they wanna feel that stability. I think on us men, like there's a little bit more ego, right? There's a little bit more, I pulled up to the parking lot in a Hellcat, but then my teammate has a Ferrari, I need to step up my game. So there's a little bit more keeping up with the Joneses there on the toys and the crazy fuck you toys. I think in women is, they buy purses or they travel a lot more. And so it's a different type of spending and mentality. I do find that female content creators want to get their finances under control and they're more coachable. Whereas men, they're mostly like, heads of their household. So they're in charge of all the finances and they're also keeping up with the expenses of other people around them, so that it becomes a little harder.
So it's more of just like, hey, just let me know if I could afford this thing, make sure that I'm not investing, or spending my money like an idiot. And then you're just trying to navigate like, hey, you probably shouldn't buy that because of XYZ. Or you're like, hey, look, your disposable income for this year, you just generated 7 mil. Tax liability is going to be this. These are your expenses on your books. You probably have about this much, or buy this because it could help your tax. Like you're trying to guide them from like the management.
As a business manager, it's all planned out and strategic. So all my clients have a budget for the year. That budget includes birthdays, Christmas, vacation time in the off season, even content creators, like where are the fuck you places you're gonna go through in the year, where you're gonna go shoot content, how much is that gonna cost? And we plan everything out from a personal and business standpoint to make sure they have almost everything that can go right or wrong in their financial lives planned out. And we have enough savings for that. That's the first section, right? That's the control section. Once you have that control, then you can say, hey, I want to invest in that company. Hey, I want to go buy a new piece of real estate. Now it's a lot easier for us to have a conversation as to whether or not you can afford something that comes out of nowhere, because you've had the foundation already taken care of. The tricky part comes when you buy the Ferrari before your credit is good, or before you've caught up in your taxes, or before you even have a budget. Because yeah, you can spend it, you have the money in the bank account, but you don't know how much money in taxes you're gonna pay. And then you find yourself having to sell something in order to pay it off. I have a client recently sold this AP for $175,000 in order to pay a liability he had because he didn't have the liquidity to do it. So yeah, buying the AP is nice and he rocked it and it was cool, but now you have to, liquidate it in order to pay an asset. That sucks. It's just a shitty place to be in.
And that's mostly because there was no pre-planning and really understanding what amount of money you're able to spend on those luxury-based items versus investments versus like just tax liability or things you're gonna have to pay for.
Right, and not all business managers take my approach, but I like when my clients have toys and they have expensive watches. Like I think it's cool. It's a reflection of you got your shit together. But if you do it before you're ready, it's just gonna be a disaster and like you're gonna pay the price at some point. Like the idea that you can get away with it is bullshit. At some point, the bill's gonna come due and you're gonna have to pay.
Awesome. Guys, don't wait. Click the link below. Edgar's provided us with a budget that's gonna help you get the money in order and take step 1.